So, we talked about many points, but 11 minutes are down. Let's talk about the second quarter. We're not going to head into
Second
points
quarter.
now, but speaking of lots of coaching here and defenses, how about let's talk about coaches in the NFL? Teams find head coaches now. Falcons snag Raheem Morris, passing up Bill Belichick. That's a big surprise. Titans hire Brian Callahan as their new head coach. Chargers hired the national champion coach, Jim Harbaugh, as their new, head coach. The Raiders bring back Antonio Pierce as their full-time head coach. Now, only two teams, Seahawks and Commanders, still need their head coach, with Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Dan Quinn, Bill Belichick, Mike I can't say that. Bobby Slowick, and so many more are the Seahawks and the Commanders in the best possible scenario for the coaching staff. Owen.
I say yes. I can't believe that so many of these guys are still on the board. Ben Johnson and Mike McDonald, you can't do anything about it. They're still in the playoffs. With Mike McDonald being the Ravens DC, Ben Johnson being the Lions OC. But people like Belichick, for all we know, Belichick's not actually that good of a coach. Maybe he doesn't interview well. Dan Quinn has led an exceptional defense. Mike Vrabel carried the Titans to the 1 seed. Bobby Slowick has done so much for that Texans offense, Texans team generally. How do these guys not have jobs yet? My question is, someone like Brian Callahan, no disrespect to Brian Callahan, but any day of the week I'm taking Bobby Slowick over Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan's done a really good job with Joe Burrow. He's done very, very, very good with Jamar Chase. That's a very good receiver core. But Bobby Slowick is young and upcoming. And if I were going to hire a head coach, it's not going to be Brian Callahan. I am taking my chances, and I am waiting till a time like right now where Mike McDonald, Ben Johnson, and Dan Quinn are still on the board. The Seahawks and Commanders now, they're two teams who need head coaches, and their coaching staff has spots that still might be filled. A name that I didn't even throw in here is Panthers defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. He's not bad either. But all of a sudden, I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson or Mike McDonald's a head coach, and then someone like Dan Quinn's a defensive coordinator still for one of the teams, you know?
Yeah. I like what you're saying, but like you said, Bill Belichick is still on the board, which is quite surprising. I'm surprised the Atlanta Falcons would even, not take someone like Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick. I'm not saying Raheem Morris is a bad coach. It's just Bill Belichick is a 6-time Super Bowl champion. But yes, he was under the system of Tom Brady, we can say. But
I love how it's now Belichick's under the Brady system instead of the way that it was before, where Brady's a product of Belichick's system. I like how you describe that, though. That makes much more sense than what people are saying, with Brady being in Belichick's system.
Exactly. So, it's a weird one, to be honest. To be honest, I thought the Seahawks are gonna. I think personally, you guys should pick up Mike. I'm Vrabel. Oh man, I can't say that.
Vrabel. Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
Vrabel. I think he's good for the Seahawks, but I'm seeing some of these names, especially for the Chiefs division, AFC West. That is kind of frightening. Antonio Pierce was the first coach in the Raiders right now that had beat the Chiefs in a long losing streak. So it's a pretty weird one. And that is what scares me. Are the Raiders going to start winning over us now? And then you bring in Jim Harbaugh, who's had success in the NFL. Don't get us wrong, but it's going to be a weird one. If you're a national champion, I'm sure you can win anywhere else, right? Also, funny part is Jim Harbaugh has played for Michigan as a quarterback. I just found this out. And then was a quarterback for the the San Diego Chargers at the time. Then he went to head coach for Michigan. Then he was a head coach for the Chargers. What a story for him, eh?
Yeah, with a break in the middle to coach the 49ers, who they went to a Super Bowl with lost to his brother, John Harbaugh, who's the current head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they're having a lot of success now. Could be a Super Bowl rematch. The Super Bowl where the lights went out, the Ravens eventually won. But he was an excellent coach. Well, he coached. The problem with Jim Harbaugh has always been his attitude. He's not a kind head coach. He's not someone who motivates. He's very angry. He's a lot as a head coach. So, but there's people still on the sport. I didn't even throw in Pete Carroll. For all we know, Pete Carroll could still have a head coaching job. I don't want to see it happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere. There are so many head coaches who are still available, and so many coordinators who could be head coaches available. For the Seahawks and the Commanders, best possible situation. Literally perfect. Because with only 2 teams left, both guys are going to get somebody who they like. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson becomes the Commanders head coach. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike McDonald becomes the Seahawks head coach. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Quinn goes back to being the Cowboys defensive coordinator. It's really, really, really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting. I mean, it's weird. It's weird how many head coaches have been let go this season. It's not like, oh man, it's not like last season was any different. I mean, I guess lots of these head coaches are getting old, like Pete Carroll. Bill Belichick really just wasn't working for the Patriots. It's definitely a weird one, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a very stacked coaching class. And as a Seahawks fan, I really like it. I'm gonna be interested to see what they do in the future. But now there's so many options. For all we know, more head coaches get fired. I'm not saying it will happen, and I doubt it will happen. But with the people still on the board, very possible.
That's how you should put it, yes. But only two positions left to be for head coach. Who do you think the Commanders should pick up at this point?
Without being a Seahawks fan, I think the Commanders' best choice is Ben Johnson. You have a pretty solid offense, and right now you're still holding on to Eric Bieniemy. If you can combine Ben Johnson, who's an offensive mastermind, with Eric Bieniemy and a high draft pick, you could have the best possible scenario for a young quarterback. Someone like Sam Howell shouldn't be a starter for much longer. He hasn't proved enough, But with a high pick, they can take Jaden Daniels, they can take Drake May, they can take whoever they want, apart from probably Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels could end up in Washington. It definitely helps with their scheme fit, but yeah, it's a weird one this season. Lots of action has been happening, from Taylor Swift to head coaching jobs to Kelsey being mid. Owen.
Two of those things are Chiefs, but yes, it has been a very interesting NFL season for like a whole bunch of rookie weird, Puka Nacua being excellent. No one saw that coming. Bryce Young being bad. CJ Stroud being excellent. The Taylor Swift scenario. A whole bunch of teams dropping off, and a whole bunch of rising stars, and now head coaches. It's been an interesting season. It's going to be a very interesting offseason coming up as well.